Okay, hello and good morning everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Espresso with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 13th of January 2020. So welcome everyone. Welcome to this Monday's morning session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, a few of the charts, the usual stuff. So I hope you all had a nice, wonderful weekend to have to relax. Now, of course, we're now getting back into the markets. So, but before we jump into the charts, quick mentioning, or actually quick read through our JFD risk disclaimer. So the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, also just before we jump into the charts, quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel here, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos, and of course our JFD Bank website and specifically our JFD research page, which we update on a daily basis. So feel free to visit us here, and I believe you can find a lot of useful stuff for yourself. So, but for now, let's jump into the charts. Now, the first one I want to touch on here is the DAX. Now, last week, it was a bit of a volatile week for the equity markets. So looking at this picture here, and we can see that, and this is a daily chart by the way, we can see that overall the index continues to trade above this medium-term upside support line taken from the low of the 15th of August, or in other words the lowest point of August. And we can see that last week the index came very close of hitting its all-time high. Now, it reached the area, of course, the area near the 13,548 zone, but the all-time high is roughly around the 13,600 mark, so maybe just slightly below that. And let me just show you this on the weekly chart. You can see that this has been reached in January 2018, so we're not far from that area. Now, for now, what we're going to do here is, and looking at the cash index as well, you can see that it's the price is currently roughly around the 13,500 mark, and it's basically or actually already stepped a little bit over it. But the big question here is, can it overcome this the last week's high and reach the 13,597 zone? Now, if it does, then, well, if it breaks above this level here, the 13,597, then, well, there is a good possibility for DAX to continue pushing north. But again, we'll be very careful here because we are quite overstretched, even let's say on the smaller time frame. So for now, we're keeping an eye on this one. We're going to be very careful, and in a way, looking at this 4-hour chart, you can see that there is some room for a potential maybe correction here to the downside, but we will consider that correction if we start seeing let me just adjust this very quickly. If we start seeing a drop below the 13,424 zone, and if we do see a slide below this, then this could lead to this little gap here being filled, a test of the 13,334 mark, or even we could see a further slide down. For now, of course, any move lower, and until it's trading above this upside support line, any move lower will be classed as a temporary correction. But again, like I said, for now, guys, looking at the cash index, it seems that it is willing to test again the high of last week. Be very careful here. If we do get a push above the high of last week, then yes, we will aim for the all-time high near the 13,597. But if that fails to withhold, now, this is where it could become a little bit more exciting for the buyers. So keep your eyes on this one. Now, jumping into Brent Oil. Now, very quickly on this one, and I looked at this one a while ago, and basically what I was saying that for now, overall, yes, it continues to trade above this upside support line, but last week we had a nice sell-off here, and the index kind of sold off heavily. So actually, let me just remove all the drawings here and start this one fresh. So basically it continues to trade above this upside support line taken from the low of the 3rd of October of last year, of course, and there is a possibility that we could see this one sliding further down. We could see a test of some of these EMAs here, the of course another test of the 50 EMA on the 4-hour chart here, and also the 200 EMA or even the 100 EMA. So long story short, we are considering a possibility for maybe a bit of a more slide here, a bit of a more declines, bit more declines. There we go. But if the price struggles to drop below this upside line, then yes, we will aim again for the upside, but of course we will be very careful around here. So the way you could look at this right now, and this is a daily chart, if we see a drop below the 65.58 zone, which is the low of last week, then yes, we will aim for this upside support line, and then we'll take it from there. Now, if this upside support line fails and we start seeing a drop below the 63 zone, roughly around here, now this is where it could become a little bit more interesting for the sellers, and we could see this one sliding further south here, maybe towards even this little territory right here, which acted as a fantastic area of support here back on the 20th of November and also on the 3rd of December. So that area is roughly around the 60.30-32 zone. So keep your eyes on this one. But again, that's in the situation if we see a break of this upside line and a drop below the 63 level. Until then, any move lower, any throwback here is still considered as a temporary correction. So that's why, guys, for now, the main scenario is, of course, this one right here, where we could see a bit of correction here, and if this upside line holds, we could see a nice rebound back to the upside. So keep your eyes on this one. Bitcoin now, looking at this, and this is a perfect chart here to have a look at. Now let me just get rid of all the lines here. So overall, you can see that that Bitcoin, and I'm looking at the Coinbase exchange here, that Bitcoin is balancing roughly around this 200-day EMA, but at the same time it is trading below this a little kind of or should I say medium-term tentative downside resistance line at the same time. So basically for now we're keeping a close eye on this, because if we get a nice pop above this downside line, there is a possibility we could see this one drifting further north, and but ideally we would like to see a push above the 8,470 territory right here, which was the high of last week. Now if we do get a push above this, then yes, this would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and we could start aiming for levels like the 9,600 zone, or even above that. We do have this the highest point of October, and that's roughly around the 10,540 zone. But again, before we could consider this and this move higher, we need to see a push above the high of last week, and of course a break of this downside resistance line. Now in terms of the downside, now with the downside we'll be very careful. We will wait for a drop below the 7,689 level here, and only after that we could potentially consider a possible move lower. Now don't get me wrong, we do have some key important areas of support beneath here, which could in a way keep the price kind of uplifted, and we could see maybe some hold-ups, some good hold-ups around here. So in a way, long story short, for those who are looking for something more long-term, then a drop below the 6,430 zone, which is the lowest point of December. Now this is where it could become more interesting for the sellers, but until then, all this territory, be very careful. Yes, we will aim for some lower levels if we see a drop below the 7,689 zone, but we'll be very careful around here near the low of the 2nd of January, near the 6,855 mark, and then we'll of course take it from there. Jumping into a few pairs now very quickly. AUD and USD. Now this is something interesting to keep an eye on, and looking at this picture here, you can see, and this is a daily chart by the way, you can see that the the pair had a nice run here to the upside. It traveled higher, tested the 0.7032 mark, but kind of quickly retraced back down and fell below its 200-day EMA here. So for now, we'll be very careful here with this one, because in a way, yes, it is still trading above this little short-term, and let me just put this one on the chart very quickly, short-term tentative upside support line taken from the low of the 1st of October. But at the same time, you can see that there is still a bit of space here for maybe a bit of another slide, maybe to test this upside line, and if then it holds, then yep, we could see a nice rebound and a push back to the upside. But at this point in time, let's say today and this week, we'll keep an eye on this 200-day EMA here, because let's not forget that for quite a while, and that's roughly from, well, let me just quickly put this one on the chart. There we go. So for quite a while, this pair was moving lower, and for quite a while, I mean 2019 here. So let me just adjust this line very quickly, guys. I'm struggling with this one right now. There we go, finally. So the pair was trading below this little kind of downside resistance line here, and you can see that the pair did have a nice push higher recently, and in a way, it's kind of everything was leaning more towards the upside. So it still is, the bulls still have a chance to push this one higher, but the only thing is that we'll be very careful here. As I said, from the short-term perspective, we may see maybe a bit of a correction here again to the downside, maybe a test of this upside line, and if it holds, then we could see a nice rebound and a push back to the upside. For those who are more on the cautious side, you could just wait this one out and wait for a break above this of the current highest point of, or actually that's the highest point of December. So December 31st. There we go. So the highest point of December, you can wait for that one and then aim for higher levels. But until then, for now, we're going to be very careful with this one. We'll keep an eye on the 200-day EMA here. If it continues to hold, we may see a bit of a decline here and maybe a test of this short-term upside support line taken from the low of the 1st of October. GBPCHF, now something that I really wanted to quickly show you, and this is a daily chart again, but you can see that after the pair broke this upside support line here, a bit of a tentative one, but nevertheless an upside support line, it started moving kind of sideways a little bit, and it's kind of leaning more towards the downside. But the only problem here is, and let me just actually get rid of this upside line so it wouldn't be in our way. The thing is here that the pair is now stuck roughly in a range here, now roughly between the 1.26 something like 60 on the downside, and roughly around the 1.2835 on the upside, or even maybe like even closer to 50, I would probably say here. So 54, there we go. So so the pair is currently stuck in this little range here, but of course, given that the previous kind of move we had, it was to the downside, now there could be a potential move lower here, could be possibility to see a drop below this 1.2660 zone. The only problem here is this 200-day EMA, which in a way could continue providing support, and if it does, then we could see a nice rebound and maybe a push back to the upside. The only thing is, with the upside, we will only target the upside if we get a push above this barrier right here near the 1.2854, and only then aim for the for some upside again for these previous levels that we saw here in the around mid-December. But again, looking at this picture right now, at this point in time, there is, you can see that there is a bit of a selling happening, and we'll keep a close eye on this 1.2660 and this 200-day EMA. If that gets broken and we see a nice daily close below this, because don't forget that we may see even a false breakout here today, So, but if we do have a nice daily close, then well, further declines are possible. So keep your eyes on this one, guys. Very interesting pair, but don't rush into this yet, because like I said, we do have some key support levels here that might stall the rate from kind of drifting further south. And the last pair for this session is going to be the euro dollar. Again, daily chart. So overall, still above this short. Actually, more of a medium-term upside, medium-term tentative upside support line. Take it from the low of the 1st of October, and you can see that last week we did have a bit of a sell-off here, but it found support near these EMAs, and of course near. Let me just quickly draw this level right here. So it found support near the 1.1085 level. Now this is the level that we're going to be keeping a close eye on, because if we see a drop below this, then yes, we will aim for a bit of more downside. We will aim for this upside support line, which in a way, if holds, it could be a perfect opportunity for the bulls to step in again and drive this one higher to the upside here. So again, we'll aim for the 200-day EMA on the daily chart here, or if that fails to withhold, then yes, we'll aim then for much higher levels. So for now, guys, keep your eyes on this one. Again, if you follow me now, you can understand that if we see a break of this upside line, now this is where the sellers could get a little bit more excited, but especially if we see a drop below the 1.1066 mark here, which is the low of the 20th of December, and if that fails to withhold, then yes, further declines are possible, and we could even start targeting levels like these here, which were seen back in the end of November, the low of the 29th of November, which is near the 1.0980 zone. So keep your eyes on this one, guys. It is quite interesting, but at the same time, it could be quite interesting for the bulls here. But for now, what we're looking here for is for maybe a small correction back to the downside here, and then if this upside line holds, then we could see a nice push back to the upside. But again, be very careful. If for some reason this decides not to travel lower towards this upside line, then well, keep your eyes on the high of the 8th of January, and that's roughly around the 1.1168. If we do get a push above this, this would automatically place the rate above the 200-day EMA, and yep, we could start targeting the highest point of December near the 1.1239 level. So let's keep an eye on this one. Okay, guys, I really hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching it till the end. If you want to join me later on at my Traders Tea Time, as always, that's 14:15 GMT. For now, I hope you have a beautiful trading day, guys. Stay safe, have your stop losses in place, and yep, like I said, join me later on at my Traders Tea Time, 14:15 GMT. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.